Welcome, everybody, to Week 15 of the NFL Betting Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. Make sure you check out BetMGM. Dan, you went cloudy for a second. Check out BetMGM for the best place to bet on the NFL games this weekend. We got games on Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. I don't know if there's a Monday game or not. I think there is. But let's go ahead. Let's get started. I am your co-host, Mike Goodpaster. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Grueling Truth. And last week, I was the champion with 7. Dan and Steve each had 6, which means Dan's only have 1 game with like 4 weeks left. It's going to be close down. So first off, let's start off with Dan Kornhauser, NFL beat writer. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, and I can't wait to dive into the Detroit Lions game because I hate to say it, but I think I told you so about this team. We'll dive into that a little bit more later, but other than that, I'm good.
I would say this. Every team in the NFL, it seems like it's 7-6 right now. So y'all are better than that, so that's better than most. All right, next up, we got the man whose Indianapolis Colts got beaten to death last week. And he finished tied with Dan for last. Help me welcome to the show, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Doing great. And rip me all you want, but my Colts are still in the playoffs and your Bengals are not.
Oh, yeah.
They're
that'll work out well for you.
Mike, you have a bad echo.
No, I don't have an echo, but Dan does because he always does, and he always has to cut it off. So, Dan, cut it off, and let's get your show started. See, I told you. Now it's fine. All right, so let's go ahead and let's look at game 1 for the week. Thursday night, the Los Angeles Chargers against the Las Vegas Raiders. Aiden O'Connell against, drumroll, what's his name, Dan? The Chargers quarterback. Come on, everybody knows who the Chargers quarterback
Easton Stick?
Easton Stick. It sounds like a baseball bat I bought for my kid when he was playing youth baseball when he was 14. But Easton Stick versus Aiden O'Connell. The Raiders are favored by 3, Dan. What do you think?
Raiders are favored by 3. Well, I like it. I like it a lot. And I don't know what to expect from Easton Stick at this point, but Keenan Allen's not playing in this game. He was ruled out. No quarterback, no receiver. Austin Eckler's not looking quite right. They're even talking about giving their backup running back some more play to see what he has because Eckler is a free agent after this year. Everything's falling apart for the Chargers. Their coach is going to be fired. It's just a matter of when. I don't even think the Raiders are -3 better than the Chargers, but I'd rather go with them at -3 than the Chargers at anything.
Yeah, to me, the big thing is this. Brendan Staley's still there, so I'll take the Raiders -3. How about you, Steve?
I agree.
Okay, since nobody really cared about that game, we'll move on to the Minnesota Vikings at the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are favored by 4 points. I'll start it off, I guess. This is my team. I always make you guys pick your teams first. But Jake Browning has completed, 82% of his passes in his last 2 starts. You still got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. But the big thing here is the Bengals are really doing the play calling I thought they should have done with Burrow, which is more under center, more play action. You got Joe Mixon, who ran the ball well. And Chase Brown, who's one of the fastest running backs I've ever seen. The dude can flat out get it. Nick Mullens is probably going to start for the Vikings. As a Bengal fan, I hope Josh Dobbs does. But I think the Bengals -4 here is a safe number, Steve.
Yeah, Minnesota ranks in the top 5 in rushing defense, but Mixon and Chase, I think they're going to wear down the Minnesota defense. Yeah, Browning, is 82% completion I'm reading here in the last 2 starts.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on fire, and he doesn't look like it's dumb luck.
He doesn't look like a backup.
No, he does not, which I think Tommy DeVito will shit on himself eventually. I don't think Jake Browning, and I think Jake Browning can get this team in the playoffs. I really think he's that good. I don't think 4 is too much for the Bengals to handle here. They're playing at Cincinnati, too, in the jungle. So I'm going to go with the Bengals -4.
All right, Dan? Do it, Dan. Take the Vikings.
I am. I'm going to go with Minnesota in this one.
No defense. Remember that.
I'm going to go with Minnesota in this one, and
Defense.
I think it's a lot closer than this line is indicating. I know that the Bengals are the better team, but I'm not sure. I don't trust Browning. I don't. He's played well these last couple of games. There's no denying that. Can't sugarcoat it in any way, shape, or form. Got to give credit where credit is due.
And remember, he beat two teams that would be in the playoffs right now.
He played really well. But I do want to point out something. I found something earlier that I did want to bring up when we started talking about this is Browning already has the most passing yards on backfield screens among all quarterbacks this season. He's only got a couple of starts. Browning's air yards per attempt would rank last in the NFL by a mile if he qualified.
He's played 2 games, Dan, and most of the screen yardage was against the Indianapolis Colts, who do not defend the screen well. Against the Jacksonville Jaguars, he threw the ball down the field.
Again, I'm not saying he played poorly. I'm just saying let's pump the brakes on anointing this guy a potential future starter or anything more than a spot backup starter. Because let's be honest, he would never even sniff the possibility of being on the field if Burrow was...
Well, no kidding, because Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the NFL. If Patrick Mahomes was in Cincinnati,
and if he went to another team, he still wouldn't be considered for the starting role anywhere.
You're full of shit.
It's a matter of fact.
I mean, that's absolutely stupid.
With a guy just
so you're telling me, no, wait, you're telling me that you would start Bryce Young over him?
Moving forward as a starter for the full season, yes, I would.
And you would start Baker Mayfield over him? And you would start Daniel Jones or Tommy DeVito. I mean, this is a joke. I mean,
but you're talking about the trash of the trash. Tommy DeVito?
You just said if he went anywhere, he would be a backup.
He wouldn't be considered really a starter. I'd still
he would, because I will guarantee you this. When this season is over, somebody will trade way too much for him. And he is one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the NFL.
I don't know how we can say that with confidence after just a few games.
Because I watched him in college take Washington to a national championship or college football playoff. I watched a man put up numbers in high school that were unreal. And he is a guy that, because of a shoulder injury, everybody was afraid to draft him. And he goes to, 2 different teams and doesn't make it. And I'm sorry, but Brock Purdy was the last man picked. And right now you're willing to say he's the best quarterback in the world. And Brock Purdy, a lot of his passes are screens and quick slants to Deebo Samuel. And he throws the ball out of the backfield to Christian McCaffrey. You can't have it both ways. All I know is this man has thrown 50 passes. One of them was picked. He's completed 82% of them. And you can sit there and rip him all you want. No, he's not Joe Burrow. But he's better than half the guys in the NFL right now.
No, he's not. He's not, though.
Dude, there's not 10 good – there's not –
we had a conversation about Joshua Dobbs being a potential starter in this league.
I never did.
In Arizona,
I never did.
A few good games in Minnesota.
I never did.
He's a pumpkin going to be on the bench.
I hate to tell you this, but I never said that because I still said Josh Dobbs sucked. You had that conversation with Steve.
You said he should get an opportunity to start when he was having his good stretch.
And he did.
And you said he looked like a starter in this league.
I said it. He looked like a starter.
Yeah, and you're saying the same thing about this
for 2 weeks.
When
because Josh Dobbs never played like this.
We have this conversation again in a month. I'm going to tell you, I told you so, and stop falling in love with average white quarterbacks who look good for.
Why is it got to be about race? Just because you love black quarterbacks that fail
backup quarterbacks. Period.
Yeah, he's an average nobody who's taking a team to a college football playoffs. While you sit there, eat your fucking food and drink your beer, you fat son of a bitch.
Average.
Next up. The Pittsburgh Steelers at the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are favored by 2.5 points, Steve.
These two are just funny.
Yeah, the bad thing is there's probably a lot of people watching it.
It's pretty easy to say that Browning's one of the 32 best quarterbacks.
It's really easy to say.
It's real easy to say that
it's
because
ridiculous, man.
There's a lot of starters. Browning is definitely better than in just watching his mechanics and his.
Yes, the mechanics are the big thing, which Josh Dobbs doesn't have.
As I said, I don't think that Browning is a one-hit wonder. I think this guy is probably going to be trade bait next season to get some draft picks or something like that, because the guy should be playing and getting a fair shot based on 2 weeks evaluation. Dan, you're right. He could piss on himself this week against the Vikings, which he might do. I doubt it, but it could happen. But anyway, what's unique here is if you guys know, I called my buddy Roger. And I said, Raj, look, we need some Saturday games late in the season. And, I got this little gig going on with two of my best friends, and we all have favorite teams.
You do another show?
We got the Bengals, we got the Colts, and we got the Lions. How about if we do a Saturday triple header and make sure that the Colts, the Bengals, and the Lions are all playing on that Saturday to recognize the grueling truths NFL Pick'em show? And Roger said, Steve, you are a freaking genius. I'm going to pull that off for you and make that happen. We'll even put it on the NFL Network. So the people don't have to pay or worry about having Prime Video. I can't get it on the regular networks because Tiger's playing golf this week with his son, which is going to dominate all network sports. But I'll get it on the NFL Network, and I'll make sure the Bengals, the Colts, and the Lions are all playing. So Raj came through for him. My man Raj,
Yeah, shout out to Roger who watches every show. I mean, we usually get some feedback from him.
I'm going to the NFL Christmas party, and he's flying me out on the NFL jet, coming to LA to get me. Me and Eric Dickerson are going out together. So,
well, you guys dated in high school, so you go way back.
Anyway, so let's get back to the. I thought that was pretty cool. I pulled that off for you guys.
You're such a swell guy, Steve. Thank you.
I try to be. I try. All right, we got the Bengals and the Steelers.
No, we don't. Pay attention. Roger's watching. It's the Colts. It's your turn. Or it's your turn.
I'm sorry. The Colts versus the Steelers. I had Bengals on my mind because I'm a Bengals fan by heart. Right? I grew up watching the Bengals long before we had the Indianapolis Colts.
Before you stole them from Baltimore.
Yeah. Kenny Anderson days, before we stole them from Baltimore, that's right. We'll take it. And we have a Super Bowl trophy hanging in our front office, and you don't.
No, you don't. There's no Super Bowl trophy that hangs anywhere. It actually sits.
It sits. Okay.
It's hanging.
Thank God for Rex Grossman. Go ahead.
And Jimmy Irsay is going on tour with his band.
Are we going to talk about the game? There's actually a lot of people watching right now, Steve.
All right, I'll get to the game. Don't worry about it. I don't have a lot to say.
Well, there's not a lot watching anymore.
Using my 15 minutes of fame right now. This is an important game for both teams. It's two teams that are playing like dog poop right now. Neither team probably is worthy of being in the playoffs.
The Colts have won 4 out of 5 games. I hate to defend the Colts, but they lost 1 game. I wouldn't say they're playing like dog.
They have played weak teams, have not beaten anybody good, really.
It's the NFL right now. I mean, we watched last night. We watched.
This is my time to talk.
Hey, you won't talk about the freaking game, though.
I'm trying to, but you're interrupting.
You went to Jim Irsay and Roger Goodell.
Right, I'm done with that.
Game.
2-7-6 teams. Colts are hurting offensively with the running game, only averaging about 45 yards a game without Jonathan Taylor. Don't think he's going to be back this week, is he, Dan? Is there any chance?
And I don't think so. I think it's more.
I think he's out. So you're looking at probably a miserable running performance. What this game boils down to me is a battle between two very mediocre backup quarterbacks in Mitch Trubisky and Garner Minshew. I'm going to take Garner over Trubisky.
Mitch Trubisky.
I still give the coaching to Pittsburgh here. Games in Indianapolis. What's the spread on this game?
2.5.
It says right on the thing there, Steve.
I'm not reading it. I'm reading 40
2.5.
What is it, 2.5?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to employ Mike's
that means the Steelers would actually be favored.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say that, Mike. That probably if you're going to bet the Steelers, because I think it's going to be a close game, and I don't know if the Colts can cover the spread, but I do think the Colts will win the game. They're good at kicking field goals indoors to win games like this. I think it's going to be a very low-scoring game, and not much more to say about that game. I'll turn it over to you, too.
Robert Stewart says to pick the Colts. And his Dolphins lost, and Robert, they're probably going to lose 2 or 3 more games before this year is out. Go ahead, Dan.
So, Steve, you took
I
Indy?
took the Colts. I'm going home team the rest of the season.
Okay. I'm going to take Indianapolis.
Looking
as
at the
well.
Colts schedule, it's not a hard.
Hey, are you going to let Dan pick the damn game?
Thanks, Mike.
Sorry.
You're welcome, Dan.
No, I'm going to take Indianapolis as well. They're actually battling for division side of the playoffs. They have a lot to go for them here. Kenny Pickett isn't playing. Deontay Johnson's probably not playing. Guard Isaac Sayamalu's probably not playing. None of them practiced. They've got a lot of injuries on defense as well. Just there's a lot going on there in Pittsburgh, and their offense isn't good. Trubisky sucks. They still can't get the running game going. Mike Tomlin might be an elite coach, top 2, top 3, but this team sucks. I'm going to take Indianapolis, and this line actually got shorter. It's actually, I think, 1.5 now or something like that.
Well, I'm gonna bet the hell out of that because the Colts, I think, will run right through the Steelers.
Well, what are we betting the line at on the show?
We'll just go 2.5 because if we'd have went last week by game lines, I'd have won the Seattle game.
I know.
Yep.
Well,
That's
obviously
the 3
they're
points.
different.
Yep.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm going to take the Colts. I don't even think this game is debatable. It does scare me because Gardner Minshew at any point can throw 3 picks, but he's usually not back-to-back bad, and it wasn't really that he was bad against the Bengals. It was just the Bengals had the ball the whole game. All right, next up, the Denver Broncos at the Detroit Lions. The Lions are favored
can I
by
make one
4.
last point on this too?
Sure.
Just to touch on one thing. Dan's right. This battle, as crappy as the AFC South is really tightening up. The Jaguars have a very tough game. The Titans play the Texans. Colts could actually be tied for first place in this division by the end of the week. I think they'd lose the tiebreaker to Jacksonville. They split with Jacksonville, so I don't know what the spread is there. But the Colts could actually be in first place and have a bye, believe it or not. That's how screwed up that the AFC South.
Well, I'm hoping they're the 4th seed and the Bengals are the 5 seed. I think that would be great.
Yeah, I'd be fine with both Bengals and Colts in, no doubt.
Yeah, especially if we get to play the Colts again. Go ahead, Dan.
I would welcome that opportunity.
Oh no, I'm good. I made the pick already. We're all going Indy, right?
I know, but I already introduced the next game.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got confused with Steve going back
because
to
the Lions. The Lions. Shit, Steve. Shut up then. Just quit apologizing and shut up. Lions -4.
I'm sorry. I'll shut up now.
You're not shutting up. Lions -4 against Denver.
I'm shutting up now.
I'm going to take Detroit. I love this line. I was a little about it at first because Denver has been playing good ball, particularly defensively. They've completely turned it around. I mean, after their debacle against Miami, giving up, 77 points or 70 points, whatever it was. After that, just shit show defensively. Since then, they've been one of the best defensive teams in the league. They've allowed like 9 or 10 touchdowns or something like that since then. They've locked it up. And on the flip side, Detroit is kind of struggling the last few weeks. Their defense, particularly against the pass, hasn't stepped up. Aiden Hutchinson isn't making those splash plays, and when he's not making those splash plays, the defense struggles. They might be good against the run. They might be elite running the ball, and Goff at different stretches over the season has been playing very well. But when the defense is struggling and the ground game is kind of plodding along, Goff hasn't shown to be able to will the team to victory. And I think part of the issue is they're too dependent on Amon-Ra St. Brown in the passing game. And if he's not getting going, and he hasn't been 100% recently, he's been playing, but he's been on the injury report. And I think this week is also listed on the injury report, but they haven't been giving anyone else the rock. Marvin Jones was released a few weeks ago for personal reasons. They've got Josh Reynolds at receiver, but he's nothing more than a third guy. They got to give the ball more to Jamison Williams, their first-round pick last year. And then Dan Campbell actually came out this week and said that that's something that they want to focus on moving forward because they know they're going to need him for the stretch run. But to me, this Lions team, as good as they looked earlier in the season, I know it's a long year, but every week I'm getting more and more concerned that this is exactly the team I thought it was earlier in the year. And I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping they figure it back out. Goff gets back on it, but I'm not entirely sold. So at first, this line gave me pause, but I do still think Detroit is the better team between these two. And I think this is a right matchup, especially since they're at home, to come back and make a statement that they do belong in the thick of the race of the NFC.
All right. Yeah, and this line scares the hell out of me the way the Lions been playing. And the Lions' big issue is just turnovers. But Jared Goff is a lot better quarterback at home than he is on the road.
Yep.
And I mean, this game I think tells us whether they're legit or not. Because what happened to them? I mean, let's face it, the San Francisco 49ers got beat 3 straight times. Yeah. And they got blown out in 2 of those 3 games, and now everything's all right again. Yeah. So this game will tell us everything about Detroit. In Denver, with the logjam in the AFC, they have to win this game, because if you get a Cincinnati and Indianapolis both win, and all of a sudden Denver loses, you're chasing all kind of teams then, even though you're only 1 game back. It makes it really hard to get in. With that being said, I'm going to go with the Lions. And honestly, to me, this game's a toss-up. And I'm picking the Lions, Dan, basically because I need the Broncos to lose for my Bengals to advance. So I'm going to go ahead, and when I cheer, I don't want to have to cheer for the Broncos and cheer against my team. So I'm going to go Detroit, but I do think Detroit should win the game. But like I said, right now, they're in their own way. Robert says take Denver, or he said Denver by 3, take the Lions in 4. That makes a lot of sense, Robert. Think about it, Robert. Think about it. All right, Steve, what do you got?
I'm going to take Denver on this one. I think Denver's hot. They're playing for more than Detroit is.
Huh? They're playing for the same thing.
Pardon?
They're playing for the same thing, aren't they?
Well, Detroit's in first place and pretty well got a lock on a bye in the playoffs.
No, they don't. Not if they lose this. They're only a game up on Minnesota right now.
Yeah, it's ugly. It's really ugly.
So actually, if you get a Cincinnati win over Minnesota and a Detroit win, Detroit's pretty much in.
I'll take Denver and the points.
All righty. Denver into points. What happened? Oh, this little thing here. All right, next up. This game's interesting as crap to me. The Chicago Bears at the Cleveland Browns. The Browns are -3. Can Joe Flacco do this again, Steve?
Yeah, I think he can. I think he's got veteran experience. I don't think he's rattled. I think he might be one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
No doubt he is.
And I think he still has his game. I think overall, Fields is still developing and learning. The Bears are just starting to believe they can win. The spread's only, 3 points?
Yeah.
They're playing at Cleveland. I'm taking the Browns in this one.
All right, Dan.
I don't trust Flacco moving forward.
I don't trust either team.
But I'm going to ride that wave. I'm going to take Cleveland here. My main concern with Cleveland is their pass defense. It has been rather lacking in recent weeks, and they have to get that together, I think, moving forward if they're gonna be legit, considering their quarterback situation. But if Joe Flacco keeps doing this, we might see the Joe Flacco from that Ravens Super Bowl run where he was damn near perfect. I think he had some 8 or 9 touchdowns or something like that going into the Super Bowl. So
I think he had more than that. Even.
If he turns the clock back and does something like that, then anything's on the table because that run game is right. Ford is more than useful as their lead back. The offensive line is elite. If he doesn't turn the ball over, man, they should be all right. But I feel like Amari Cooper was on the injury report or something about that recently.
Well, you better look for it before you pick the game.
Nah, I'm taking Cleveland.
Man, I really want to take the Bears here.
So do I, man. I want to take.
I want to take the Bears so bad, but I just can't do it. I can't
do it. I don't.
Cleveland's at home, and Cleveland at home, their defense is really good at home. They could have easily lost a big lead to Jacksonville and hurt Trevor Lawrence, though. And Justin Fields is a talented dude. But I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns. I hope I'm wrong. just because I'm going
Bengals,
to beat myself up, because all week I thought, man, I really want to pick the Browns. But in the back of my head was, man, can you do that? Plus, it's Cleveland. They got a 1-game lead for the playoffs. What does Cleveland do in that situation? They lose out, no matter who they play. But I'm going to go ahead and take them. Next up, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are firmly tied for first in the NFC South against the Green Bay Packers. Got a shot to make the playoffs also. The Packers are coming off a rough one. And Baker Mayfield, not that he played great, but at the end of the game when it mattered, he did. Now he's going to go to Lambeau Field. Shut the damn dog up, Steve. And I'm going to go Green Bay here. I mean, I don't know what happened to him in New York. I don't really trust either team here either, Dan, but it's the NFL of nowadays. Instead, it's just a bunch of teams that aren't very good and a couple teams that are really talented but don't play very good, and it gets confusing at times. So I'm going to take Green Bay. What do you think, Steve?
3.5 points. Yeah, it's going to be a tight game.
Hey, have we seen a year where almost every game, the point spread, it seems like it's under a touchdown? I mean, it's every week now. There's only a handful of games that aren't, and those games are the ones that ends up with the team that's the underdog winning the game outright.
You know, I think this is still a little bit of a toss-up game.
I think every game anymore is a toss-up game.
Yeah, and I ain't going to catch you guys or get respectable if I don't go opposite. I'm going to take Tampa Bay in the 3.5 points in this game.
All right, Dan, crush these dreams. Take Tampa Bay, and then he can only go against one of us.
I was going to say, yeah, sorry, Steve. I'm gonna crush your dreams on that. I'm going to take Tampa Bay. And it's down to what Mike said when he started talking about these teams. I don't trust either one of these franchises.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield's nothing special. Jordan Love 1 week can look like a franchise quarterback, and then the next week he can lose to the Giants and the offense struggles. 1 week the Packers defense wants to show up. The next week, where's Rashawn Gary? Where's their run defense? They're too hot and cold for me. I think if anything, the Packers might be a year away from trying to actually make a push for the playoffs if they trust Jordan Love as their quarterback moving forward. But 3.5 is an ugly line. If it was less, maybe I go Green Bay. But I'm going to take Tampa.
All right. Next up, the Houston Texans at the Tennessee Titans. Steve, the Titans are favored by 2 points, which tells us Vegas doesn't think C.J. Stroud's going to play. And from watching the hit he got a concussion on, I would doubt that he plays, which means Davis Mills is up.
Yeah, the notes I have in front of me say Stroud's still in concussion protocol. Dan, you got any updated news on that or anything?
No, if he's in a concussion protocol now, he's going to be in it till
he's going to be in it till Saturday.
So we won't know until Saturday.
Pretty much.
He'll be foggy one way or another coming back. I tell you what, they're playing at Tennessee. Derrick Henry he's an amazing running back. I mean, the guy is he may not be getting the major buku yardage, but the guy's still running with a purpose. And in crunch time, when they need him, he delivers more times than he doesn't. This is a battle. Like I said, this whole AFC South thing it's a free-for-all with everybody. Tennessee's playing their way right back into this.
They're really not.
Well, they're trying to.
Yeah, 5-8. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not playing their way back in. They're like 2 or 3 games back, so it would take a miracle.
But
Will Levis does look good every once in a while.
Yeah.
Every once in a while.
Houston, I don't know what they've got. Mills, are they going to go with Mills?
Yes, it looks like it. I really, after watching Stroud, the way he hit his head on the ground,
he's done.
It would surprise me if he does.
Yeah,
if he plays this week. It might surprise me if he plays next week.
I'm going to give up the 2 points and take Tennessee. It's 2 points, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to take Tennessee and give up the 2 points.
Well, my issue is here. Tennessee just came off a huge win on the road on a short week. The Houston Texans need to win the game, but they got Davis Mills. I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans, and I also will tell you this. For all the Tennessee Titan fans, you can tell your buddy, Dan, if you want to fire Mike Vrabel, you're an idiot. Dan, what do you think?
I agree. Can't fire that man.
What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Tennessee as well. I'll if CJ Stroud is playing, I'll be picking Houston in my pick 'em with my buddies. But
Hey, I don't know if I would pick Houston with Stroud right now.
you know what? That's a fair point. And Tennessee's a weird team. They like to do these things where they suck in the first half of the season, and then in the second half of the season, they kind of like try to piece it together last month of the year, go like 3-1.
Actually, don't they usually play well all season long and then suck in the playoffs?
Well, no. Well, I was going to say, and Derrick Henry, for whatever reason, seems to really like playing against the Houston Texans. He's good for like a 200-yard game against the Texans, seemingly every year. It feels like Houston and Jacksonville. That's the other one. He likes to abuse Jacksonville too. But
well, Jacksonville likes to be abused too.
Yeah, they do. If CJ Stroud was playing, I would go with Houston, but I'll go with Tennessee, and maybe Derrick Henry goes off in this one. His first real bow wow, it's Derrick game all season. 200 yards, a couple times.
Yeah, because I think in the end, when you look at Houston, they're not a playoff team yet, and I think what you may see is a little nosedive here, miss the playoffs. But with D'Amico Ryans there coaching this team and CJ Stroud, this is a team that probably starting next year is going to be in the playoffs damn near every year for the next decade. I just don't think it's going to happen this year. Robert also liked Tennessee. Next up, Dan, the New York Jets and the red-hot Zach Wilson at the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are favored by 12, and I don't know about you guys, but any point spread over 10 anymore scares the hell out of me no matter who's playing.
Now, this is an interesting one because
is Tyreek Hill playing?
Well, this line is ugly. It is currently, I want to say 8.5.
Did it drop down again
for Miami? So
check it out right now, so we can adjust it.
Bet MGM.
If it's that big of a difference, we want to switch it.
Well, wait, if the Colts went to 1.5, we ought to switch that one too.
1.5, 2.5 is not a big deal because that point spread. It's not, because chances are that point spread is going to finish at about 2.5.
Yeah,
it's not going to get tighter. But 12-8 is a huge difference.
A huge swing. Yeah. So I'm on Bet MGM right now, and this game is currently Miami minus 8.5.
It dropped 3.5 in the last 24 hours. Then
that's crazy. That's a huge drop.
Also, and it's weird. It also makes you wonder who knows something there.
I was gonna say that's weird because I don't see any like special Miami Dolphins on the injury report. I know Hill hurt his ankle or something like that this past weekend, but I'm pretty sure he's gonna play this week. I mean, I guess there's reports that he's sitting out practice maybe, or he'll see how he feels throughout the week or whatever. And I guess if Hill doesn't play, is Hill really worth a 4 point?
Yes, he is, because what we do know is this: the Dolphins are very poorly coached. Mike McDaniel, showed that without Tyreek Hill, he doesn't have a clue. And if you watch the Hard Knocks in-season show with him, you'll realize he doesn't have a clue. I think Mike McDaniel is so far in over his head, it's ridiculous. It's like sending a kindergarten teacher to a porn shoot.
So
come on, that was a good one. Nobody's even going to smile.
So we're going to go with the 8.5 then?
We're going to go with the 8.5. It just won't let me switch it on here for some reason.
All right. So Miami minus 8.5. All right. With this being the line, I'm going to take Miami. If the line was 12, I would have gone with the Jets.
Same here.
But 8.5 is a lot better, even without Tyreek Hill, even if this passing offense somehow struggles, which is certainly possible because the Jets' defenses, their secondary is elite all around. That's certainly possible. But the Miami ground game could run for 200 yards as a unit. So I'm going to take Miami in this one. And also Zach Wilson. Oh, yeah, that's it. Zach Wilson and Tommy Cutlets, both New York Giants quarterbacks, were AFC and NFC Offensive Players of the Week. I don't think Zach Wilson's going to be following that up this week with another 300-plus yard passing performance. So I'm going to take Miami.
All right. I'm going to just use the same logic you did, which is that point spread. At 12, I would have jumped on the Jets. At 8.5, I'm going to take the Dolphins, but I still don't feel comfortable about it. And I think the Dolphins are going to lose a couple games after this even because I think their last 3 games are really tough. So I think the Dolphins are in trouble there. Luckily, they've got a 2-lead game on Buffalo. Buffalo's got a tough game or 2 left, too. I think Buffalo plays the Cowboys this week. So, Steve, what do you think?
I agree with everybody.
Miami, all right, across the board.
All righty then. Let's move on to the next game. We've got the Kansas City Chiefs at the New England Patriots. Is that still 9.5, Dan?
Oh, I actually backed out of that. Go on with your what is it currently?
All right. Currently it's 9.5. And it looks like Bill Belichick may be in his last few games as a New England Patriots coach. The Chiefs have struggled. And let's talk about this. Does anybody think Patrick Mahomes wasn't anything other than a crying, whining little bitch?
All right, so hold on. The line is -7.5. So
it's dropped 2 points then.
Yeah. So we're
Because at 9.5, I would take New England. At 7.5, I would probably go Kansas City. But I'll tell you all.
So we're going KC -7.5.
KC -7.5.
All right, that's the current line.
So what do you think? Do you think offsides should be called when your guy's offsides, Dan?
Yo, yeah. You know what? He acted like a little bitch, and I could do without the crying and the antics.
That's what he's always done, though.
And after the game, when he should have congratulated Josh Allen on playing a good game, congratulated the Bills players on playing a good game and winning a tough contest against the defending Super Bowl champ and showing some class and saying, hey, good game. You're upset. That's fine. You can be upset. You think you got robbed. That's fine. You can feel like you got robbed, even though you didn't.
Yourself.
You can feel that way. That's fine. But show some class. Congratulate your opponent and walk off the field. You want to bitch in the locker room to the reporters. Bitch
to Brittany. And then she can tell everybody about it.
Throw a fit. But no, it's the same thing that Tom Brady did his whole career. Once Tom Brady started winning chips, he cried about everything. If he got touched,
it's being a spoiled brat.
He would throw a fit. Oh, where's my flag? Where's my flag? You see him on the sideline screaming. Oh, no, the Tom antics were stupid despite his greatness. And this is kiddie bullshit too. He's got to be better. You're one of the faces of the NFL. Be better. Be a professional. All that being said, though, I'll take Kansas City. New England.
I'd take Kansas City 7.5, but I would take New England at 9.5. Because New England's defense will be good enough to hang in this game because Kansas City can't catch the ball. They can't even line up right. I mean, the main reason I'm taking Kansas City is this. Isaiah Pacheco is supposed to be back. Pacheco, I would take New England at -7.5. No Pacheco, because that means they're not going to be able to run the ball. And Bill Belichick, no matter what you say, there's not a lot of games here where he gets blown out and his defense gets destroyed. I mean, the man's the best defensive coach to ever coach defense in football. So, and Robert says, poor clock management by Bills, their last possession. You must be talking about Bills Chiefs. Yes, it was. And we see that all the time. The Miami Dolphins had even worse. I mean, the Miami Dolphins and Mike McDaniel don't know how to manage anything in a game. Steve?
I think Buddy Ryan was the best defensive coach ever in the NFL.
Can you explain to me why?
Buddy.
No, not really.
Okay. So you had no clue. Buddy Ryan won one Super Bowl. And, he did nothing after that. He always coached really good defenses, but the only thing he had was the 46, and it was the same defense he was running a decade later. The thing about Bill Belichick is no matter what your offense is, he will figure out a way to at least slow it down. And Bill Belichick also – Super Bowl 25. Okay, you don't want to have an NFL discussion, so just pick the game.
You're right.
It doesn't pertain to
Go ahead, I apologize. Tell your story.
No, I'm not going to tell any stories. Go ahead.
No, I just said threw Buddy Ryan out there to get you.
No, you said that Buddy Ryan was, and you threw it out there to get me to talk and have a discussion, and then you told me not to. So who are you picking?
No, I did not say not to. I just said Mike.
Yeah. There's no reason to say that if you threw it out for me to talk. Who'd you pick in the game?
I'm thinking about it.
If you got words written on the paper, you would have to bring the paper up to see the words.
I'll take Kansas City in the 7.5. Give up the 7.5.
See.
All right, next up, Dan, the New York Giants at the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are favored by 6.
All right.
Hell, even the Giants have a shot to be a wild card now, don't they?
Yes. Mathematically, yes. The Giants are
games
in
out?
the hunt.
2
They
games or
are
1 game out?
It's ugly in the NFC, but yes, they are indeed in the hunt. They are currently. Hold on one second. Where are they? NFC. Here we go. So, yeah. Oh, the NFC sucks. So Green Bay, the Rams, Seattle, Atlanta, New Orleans,
6
the
and
Giants,
7.
the Bears are all in contention for that 7 seed because they're all 6 and 7. The
The
Giants
Bears are
Bears
6 and
5 and 8.
7.
Bears are 5 and 8. Giants are 5 and
Okay.
8.
That's what
So
they're a game out.
Doesn't
they're
the
a game
NFC
out.
have a team with a losing record that's going to get a bye?
Yes, you're gonna not
maybe.
a bye. They're gonna have a home game. You're probably gonna have Atlanta or Tampa or somebody like that hosting Dallas. It's disgusting.
Hey, and knowing Dallas, that team with the below 500 record might advance to the next round.
Or Philly or something like that. It's gross. But anywho, yes, the Giants are still in the hunt. Tommy Cutlets is all the rage out here in New York. Giants fans
As
are
big as Mike White was with Jets fans for that 1 week.
yes. They are totally sold. As sold as Jets fans were that Mike White was the future at the position, the Giants fans are equally sure that Tommy Cutlets is a legitimate starter in the league. Dan Jones, who already talking about he should be in competition for their starting job. Maybe if they have an opportunity to take a Drake May or Caleb Williams in the top 5, maybe you pass on one of those
I
guys.
would pass on Caleb Williams in a heartbeat.
Maybe you pass on one of those guys and
I
you
would pass
start
on Caleb Williams.
Cutlets instead.
I just don't think Caleb Williams ain't good.
It's really crazy out there. But I'm not on that bandwagon, but New Orleans -6 is gross. New Orleans hasn't shown that they're a -6 team, even over a team like the Giants who have underachieved. And while the Giants are nothing special, they're also riding a high. They're sold on Tommy. So I'm going to take the Giants here if this line is New Orleans -6. I don't know why it's -6. New Orleans not that good.
Let me ask you this. Has DeVito played well on the road yet?
Yeah.
Who was it against?
I don't know.
I'm trying to remember. I can't remember.
Why?
Why what?
Well, why do you ask?
Well, because it's one thing to do it at home in front of a crowd that loves you as opposed to doing it on the road against people that don't love you.
So he did it at Washington.
That doesn't count. There was probably more Giants fans there than Commanders fans. I mean, let's face it. I really don't want to do this because I really don't think Tommy DeVito's any good. And Derek Carr plays for the Saints, but I mean, this is going to end up being, I would say this. Neither one of these teams is going to score a lot of points. So I'm going to take the 6 points. I mean, that's the way I would put this. I think the Saints will probably eke out a win. But I mean, this game is going to be 13-10 or 16-13, something like that. So it's kind of the same reason I took the Patriots last week, and that worked out just because I don't think there's going to be a lot of points scored. So I'm going to go. I'm going to take the Giants, Steve.
I agree with you. I have same reasons. I don't think it's a 6-point spread game, and for that reason, I'm going to go with the Giants as well and take the 6 points.
All right, next up, we've got the Atlanta Falcons at the Carolina Panthers. The Falcons are favored by 3, but the Panthers haven't won in like a month and a half, 2 months. Desmond Ridder actually did not play terrible last game, and Bryce Young, dude, Bryce Young's going to be in a bust. And we'll never know if he was any good or not because he was put in a situation that very few people could have gotten anything out of. I'm going to take the Atlanta Falcons -3, Steve.
I agree.
Dan?
Yep, clean sweep right across the board.
Yeah, because I think Bryce Young is a very talented guy that in the right situation it would have worked out well for him.
Yep.
But it's not going to. And he's going to be like Sam Darnold, and he's going to be on 3 teams in his first 6 years, and then he'll be gone. Next up, to watch the Commanders at the Los Angeles Rams. And I made the comment last week. I think the LA Rams are a very dangerous team. And me and Steve did cover picking them against the Ravens. And, I think we were told by Dan that we were crazy. I like the Rams. Matt Stafford is playing well. Kyron Williams makes a huge difference. They got Naku or whatever the hell he is, Puka. And they've got Cooper Kupp. So I'm going to take the Rams, get to 6.5 points. But damn, guys, this is getting to the point where anytime I give up 6 points in a game, it worries me, Dan.
Yeah, and I mean the Rams are able to play well when Stafford's healthy, and
when they got Williams, yeah.
So
Robert Rams, just so you know before you pick.
So yeah, they're both there. Kupp is there. Naku is there. The offense is right. I hate the 6.5.
We'll just take the Commanders then.
I hate the 6.5, but I'm gonna take the Rams.
All right, Steve.
Rams.
Next up, 49ers at Cardinals. 13.5 points. It's at Arizona. Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, we're going 13.5. Yeah, that works. Yeah. All right.
So it's not. Why? Do you got something else?
No, 12.5 currently. So 13.5 is fine. Yeah. I'm taking San Francisco. Period.
Yeah. You have to. And it's not because I think San Francisco is that great, because let's face it, the NFL today, there's not a team that is well above average even. Every team has holes in it, which is why I think we see a team like the Niners lose 3 games in a row, and everybody loses at some point. But Kyler Murray quarterbacks Arizona. So I'm going to take the 49ers. I'm going to give it a 13.5, Steve.
I agree.
Steve, you can't come back and win without taking some chances.
Yo, Steve's got some sand. He's taking a couple of interesting ones.
I'm messing with him. Next up, the Dallas Cowboys at the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are favored by 1.5. This game's difficult to pick because of this. Usually when I pick these games, I will take a team that had a huge win the week before and pick against them. The problem here is Buffalo beat Kansas City. Dallas beat Philadelphia. Now, the other problem here is this. Dallas has a tendency when they get to this position to crap down both legs. But I can tell you right now, the 2 best quarterbacks, or at least the guys that are playing the best quarterback in the NFL, are Brock Purdy and Dak Prescott. They've got CeeDee Lamb. I have questions about the Bills' defense. The Bills are in a must-win situation, but they had to win last week. I think the Cowboys still come up short trying to win the division just because the Eagles' record or Eagles' schedule is so damn easy the rest of the year. But I'm going to take the Cowboys minus 1.5, Steve.
Ditto.
Dan. Robert takes the Bills. You may want to do what Robert does, Dan.
Well, now I'm definitely not taking Buffalo. No, I mentioned last week how I can still see Buffalo making a run at the playoffs and being a relevant team down the stretch. They're currently 7-6, while the NFC playoff picture is kind of muddied up there at that 7 seed. The AFC is not any better at all. I mean, you've got
actually the AFC is better because all their teams they got like 6 teams that are 7-6. It's not 5 teams that are 6-7.
Yeah, but it's six teams that are 7-6. Then you've got 3 that are 8-5. So
2 are division winners though, and you get but the point is this: I think the AFC is much deeper than the NFC.
Oh yeah, I mean the NFC just sucks. It's top heavy, but the AFC.
Hey, put it like this, Dan. When you look at those teams that are all 7-6, you could make a case for half of them to make a run to the Super Bowl.
In the AFC?
Yeah. In the NFC, you couldn't make a run for any of that, or you couldn't make a plea for any of those teams.
Honestly, dude, of those 6, the only 3 I could really see making a run are Denver, Cincinnati, and Buffalo. And Cincinnati,
you just gave me 3, by the way, is what I said. I said you could give me half of those could make a run.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misheard. Sorry.
That and the other thing is this: in the AFC, I don't know who the best team is. Miami doesn't scare me. Kansas City doesn't scare me. So anybody that gets in the play, and I'll tell you what, you didn't bring up the Browns, but if Joe Flacco continues to play the way he is, the Browns defense is legit. You never know. Now we all know they're the Browns and they'll fall apart in the end, but
but yeah, no. So while I still think Buffalo is a relevant team, and as long as Josh Allen is healthy, this team will be dangerous. I can't pick against Dallas at this point. They are red hot. Nobody in the NFL is hotter than Dak Prescott. He is currently the MVP favorite on BetMGM.
But he shouldn't be. We all know that.
No, he shouldn't be, but he is. So it's worth mentioning.
It's kind of like the Heisman. They should just change it and just make it the NFL MVP quarterback or the Heisman quarterback award. And because, I mean, to me,
that's exactly
as long as Tyreek Hill is healthy, if he gets anywhere near 2,000 yards, Tyreek Hill should be. And I'll also give you this, guys like Myles Garrett. You know, there's TJ Watt.
Myles Garrett's crazy.
Yeah, TJ Watt. I mean, there's all kind of defensive guys that should be there too that get completely ignored because they're not the quarterback.
But it's hard to pick against Buffalo. I'm gonna take Dallas. I'm actually surprised Dallas isn't favored in this one on the road, based on how they've been playing thus far. But maybe the books or Vegas is more trusting of Buffalo now that they beat Kansas City. I don't know. I'll take Dallas though.
I wouldn't be, because I don't think Kansas City's that good this year. I mean, Kansas City's 8-5, and they could end up a lot worse than that the way this is going. Next up, they could also be the number 1 seed just because the way this thing's going. The Baltimore Ravens at the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Ravens are favored by 3, Dan. The Ravens, it's not that Lamar Jackson is playing great. He did play better yesterday. Offensively, they're not playing great. Defensively, they're pretty good. But this is basically what the NFL is. The Ravens are one of the best teams, and they've got holes all over the place also. And Mark Andrews, really debilitates this offense. The Jacksonville Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence played through 3 interceptions because he's Trevor Lawrence, and he's always just going to be average. Sometimes he'll be great. Sometimes he'll be trash. In the middle, he's average.
It's ugly. I mean, considering that Lawrence was someone that we both had as in our top 10 quarterbacks coming into the year.
Did we?
We did.
Did I have it at number 10 then? Okay, go ahead.
No, I think you had Prescott at 10. But regardless, we both had everyone.
Right on Prescott at least.
Everyone had high hopes for.
I did not.
For Lawrence.
Watch the show. I really think that he is just streaky. Plus, he looks like Martina Navratilova, which is very worrisome.
I think, you mentioned that when we
we showed you the picture, and he did. I mean, if she wasn't a lesbian, she would be his mom.
She would be him.
Yes. Well, actually, since she's a lesbian, maybe she is. Go ahead.
I'm going to take Baltimore in this one.
Don't you shake your head, Steve.
I don't. Even if Trevor Lawrence was healthy, it's Jacksonville's a weird team, man. They should have run away with the AFC South at this point, but they're just not quite. Baltimore on the flip side, even without Mark Andrews, I mean, Odell Beckham Jr. stepped up. Zay Flowers continues to show that he was a good choice in the first round. He's playing very well as a rookie wide receiver for him. He's been as advertised thus far, and his targets keep going up every week. I'm going to take Baltimore.
Yeah, I am too, just because I don't trust Jacksonville. I also fully know that Jacksonville could win this game if Trevor Lawrence gets hot, but there's a better chance that he's not going to get hot than he does get hot. I'm going to take Baltimore -3, Steve.
Ditto.
Okay, good pick, right. Steve. I like his explanation, too. Next up, Steve, we'll let you start off since you're a man of many words. The Philadelphia Eagles at the Seattle Seahawks.
Did you get my Dallas pick?
Yeah, you said Dallas, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. I got you.
Philadelphia.
Well, the whole thing on the Jacksonville game is, I'm betting a homer on this one. I mean, I need Jacksonville to lose this game. So I want to vote. I mean, the Colts.
I need Baltimore to lose this.
The Colts conceivably could end up in first place if the chips fall right. The Colts could be in first place in the AFC South come Sunday night. So So
all right. Next up, Steve. Philadelphia at Seattle. Philadelphia is favored by 5.5.
Man, I do not like that spread at all. Philly, I don't know if they're playing beat up or what. Seattle's riding a 4-game losing streak, though. They're getting beat by everybody. I don't know how depressed they are about that. Eagles are coming off back-to-back losses. Games at Seattle.
Hey, Steve, you may want to help here. Joseph Michael says, take the Sea Chickens.
Oh, God. I love Joe, too.
Joseph Michael is a jerk. He pees and he moves his feet up afterwards.
Hey, you know what? If you want to stay on this show, Dan, you don't say a word about Joseph Michael. Me and Steve can make fun of him, not you.
Guy.
Yes.
You know what? In honor of my buddy Joseph Michael,
but I like him.
I'm going to take the 5.5 points in the Seahawks in honor of Joe.
Boo.
Yeah, so
I know it's not a good pick. It's a risky pick, but like I said, I can't catch you guys by playing with you. I got to play better.
If you can catch
phrasing.
All right. Dan,
I'll take the Seattle and the 5.5. Thank you, Joe.
Phrasing.
What do you think, Dan?
I know. Playing with you. I get it.
What do you think, Dan?
I need an adult. No. So we're going with this. What is this? Philly minus 5.5?
Yeah.
Gross. I don't want to get too excited about these last two losses for Philadelphia.
Well, you should, because they're not a very good team, and the quarterback is average, as I told you all last year.
It's been ugly. These last 2 weeks, 42-19 and 33-13 is disgraceful. They should be ashamed of themselves. They're better than that. But I'm not going to jump the gun. I'm not going to flush them down the toilet. This team suddenly doesn't suck. Okay. They're a good team. There's something missing. They're missing that it factor about them. Like, they have talent. They've got a ton of talent on the defensive.
Yeah, but they can't run the ball.
They've got talent at receiver. They've got talent at quarterback and running back. Their offensive line might be the best in football. Like, let's not make believe that Philly is some middle of the pack team. They're not. They've got talent out there.
No, I give you this. They're coached to be a middle of the pack team.
Coaching, if you want to question coaching, I'm on board with that because
they don't play aggressively.
I don't know what game plans they had these last 2 weeks.
What's the same game plan they had all year? It's just they had enough talent to beat the other teams.
It ain't working. Against these good teams.
The Dallas Cowboys are God's team.
That's stupid. If they were God's team, wouldn't they win the Super Bowl every year?
No.
I'm going to.
God does, we can't explain, but
God would not let Jerry Jones own his football team.
Our God's team.
I'm going to take Philadelphia reluctantly, and it's mostly because Drew Lock, I believe, is going to be starting at quarterback for the Seahawks. And listen, he was up and down at Missouri. The physical talents aside, this kid hasn't put it together in the NFL either. I mean, I guess he had some good plays this past week, and of course their talent at receiver is right, which works out in the right. This might be the right game for that because the Eagles secondary is atrocious. Darius Slay sucks. Bradbury is completely shot. I don't know why he's still on the field. They should just cut him. There's no reason to trot that man out there. Put literally anybody else in that corner. But that pass defense is crazy. They got to get that shit together sooner than later. And I think this might be a good game to do so because Drew Lock is not good.
All right. Drew Lock is not good, but in his defense, neither's Geno Smith, really. I mean, he was the first half of last season. He's been very average after that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. To me, this is a tough game to pick. If it was anybody other than Drew Lock, if we could give Seattle Jake Browning or Tommy DeVito, I would probably take Seattle because I trust both of those guys more than I trust Drew Lock. And yes, I like you or Jake Browning, but I don't trust him yet. I mean, to me, I can't trust a quarterback who's been good for 2 years. I mean, it's just I've seen enough guys be great for a season or half a season and then shit on themselves. I'm going to take the Eagles reluctantly because I really want to take Seattle. So I think there's probably going to be a couple games in here I'm really going to kick myself for picking it. And it seems to me like, Dan, you had the same feeling about the exact same games.
Yeah, there's going to be, I think there's going to be a lot of that moving forward the next few weeks. And it's mostly because nobody is separating themselves from the pack.
Yeah, nobody. I mean, right now, could you really tell me who you think is going to be in a Super Bowl? Because, I mean, yeah, the 49ers are kind of a no-brainer in the NFC, but are they?
Are they?
Because
Hey, Mike,
well, the 49ers, they've already blown out the Cowboys and Eagles. Yeah, Steve.
Raj was telling me too that he's finally ready and he's coming out for the Seahawks this week.
Is he? He's coming out of the closet?
Bo Callahan.
Coming out.
Bill Callahan.
Bo Callahan.
Bo?
Starting quarterback, Bo Callahan out of Wisconsin.
Listen, I heard nobody went to his birthday party.
Nobody did go.
Mm.
That's why he's finally ready.
Whose birthday party? Bo Callahan or Roger Goodell?
Bo Callahan.
Oh. Okay.
Kevin Costner passed on him.
I know.
Smart.
Based on information from Jennifer Garner.
Yep.
Yes, because that's where I would get all my information,
They
especially
stayed
if I
with
wanted to
Brian-
use
they
like
stayed
a
with
credit
Brian
card.
Drew. But
All right.
they sprinkled some magic dust and they had one pick and they got the linebacker they wanted, the quarterback they needed,
Yep.
and the running back who was the legend, the son of a legend.
That's right.
But they were the Cleveland Browns, and if there was a movie that showed how the season went, all three of those guys got hurt. The head coach died in a car wreck, and then the stadium burnt down.
For those of
Right.
you still listening, that is the movie Draft Day.
All right. Anybody
Bo
want to talk about
Callahan.
anything else before
Okay,
we
here's
wrap
a
it up?
trivia question. Who was Bo Callahan's coach in real life actor?
Huh? Who was
Who played
Bo
his
Callahan's coach and real life actor?
Who was the actor that played Bo Callahan's coach at Wisconsin?
He was that guy with that thick mustache.
And yeah, Sam Elliott.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really.
Greatest Western actor in TV today and movies today.
I can tell you this. I mean, I'm really glad you didn't let me try to answer it and just stopped it right after Dan answered. But go ahead. Next.
All right, I'm done.
Dumbass. All right. Anything else we want to talk about?
Yes. Yes. I got a whole list of things.
Okay.
Number one is, are you buying the reports that Bill Belichick is out after this season?
Probably. But I can tell you this. The first site I saw it on is not a legit site.
No.
So that makes me question it. But I think he's probably gone anyways. But if I was New England, I would not fire the man. I don't think you're going to be able to replace him with anybody better. The problem right there is, can you keep him as a head coach and fire him as the GM?
Bingo.
And my guess is no, you can't.
I mean, Mike, honestly, would you give up that power if you had it your whole career?
No. Put it like this. When I go places, I don't go there unless I have that power.
There you go. Why would you do that? Yo, I'm Bill Belichick. You know how many chips I got? Let me show you. This many, okay? I need two hands to hold it up.
And I'm pretty sure that if he wanted to coach again, that he could probably find somebody that would allow him to be their head coach.
Yo, I'll tell you what, Giants fans are already lining up. They will trade first-round picks. They will trade their firstborn children.
Yeah, but I will tell you this. I think Brian DeBoer is a really good football coach, and they forget that he got a really bad team to the playoffs last year. And they also forget this. This team was a complete dumpster fire and looked headed for the first pick. Now they're 2 games out of the playoffs, 1 game out of the playoffs. I mean, Brian DeBoer is a really good football coach. If I was the Carolina Panthers, I would give Bill Belichick the moon.
Yep.
But if I was the New Orleans Saints with Derek Carr, I would give him whatever he wanted.
Yep.
If I was the Cincinnati Bengals, I'd give him whatever he wants.
There you go.
Twice.
All right, so that's one. Steve, are you buying the Belichick? Is he out? Or do they bring the legend back? Or do they play it and be like, you know what, Bill wants to retire, don't you, Bill? And he's like, yeah, I want to leave.
With my $50 million.
Well, and Bill is also, 73 years old, so he may want to leave.
He's
Something
got
like
a
that,
smoking
yeah.
hot wife, too.
72, 73, some shit like that.
Well, he's still a scumbag, though, because that smoking hot wife was not his original wife.
Dun,
No.
dun, dun.
I think he's probably done in New England.
It wouldn't surprise me if he wasn't, though. I'll call it 50-50.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. It's 50-50 at this point. Too early to tell.
So Mike, this whole show we've been talking about who we don't trust. There's a lot of players and a lot of teams that we don't trust. So now I have to ask, who do you trust? moving forward this NFL season? Do you trust a quarterback in a bad situation? Do you trust a coach? Do you trust anyone at any position on any team at this point?
Well, I trust all kind of players by themselves. But are you talking about, is there a team I trust?
Yeah. Do you trust any team at this point that like in a month and a half we'll say, oh yeah, remember back in week 15 when we had the conversation of who do we trust? I was right. Like, is there anyone that
I would say that
really
the 49ers, because they play defense and they run the ball. I mean, that is the safe pick. I don't trust Dallas because they're Dallas. I don't trust Detroit because they're Detroit. I don't trust Cleveland because they're Cleveland. I don't trust the Bengals because they're playing with a backup quarterback and Zach Taylor coaches them.
There's a lot of, yes, I'm saying there's a lot of.
Well, that's what I said before. The league is as weak as it's ever been. I mean, it's as exciting as it's ever been if you like that sort of thing.
If you like bad football.
If you like bad football, it's like I had a conversation today with a guy on Facebook who's telling me that football is so much better today than it was in the 70s and 80s. And I'm like, really? Like, in the 80s and 70s, you probably had 4 dynasties in each decade, and they had to beat each other to win the Super Bowls. You know, that's why the Patriots won 7. They didn't have Chuck Noll and the Pittsburgh Steelers to deal with every year the way Kenny Stabler and John Madden had when they were at Oakland.
Well, here's the question. Was that person you were talking to, was he a Bengals fan?
No, he was a dumbass.
Or a fan? Well, I only asked because...
Well, he was a guy that posted and asked if there was any quarterback that was better than Tom Brady. And my response is always Joe Montana, because I honestly believe Joe Montana is the best quarterback I've ever seen. The problem is this: Joe Montana had to deal with Joe Gibbs, the Chicago Bears, Eric Dickerson and the Rams, the New York Giants, Belichick and Parcells. I mean, and he was 4-0, never threw a pick in a Super Bowl. And in his Super Bowls, people don't realize in 1981, he beat Kenny Anderson, who was the NFL MVP. In 1988, he beat Boomer Esiason, who was the NFL MVP. In Super Bowl 19, he beat the Miami Dolphins. Dan Marino was the NFL MVP. I mean, in 89, I can't remember who won the NFL MVP. I think it was Joe Montana, so he can't beat himself. But when you look at it, the competition he played was so much better. And this guy's like, no, everybody's so bigger and faster. It is not true, because big and fast is great. But the 70s and 80s, the difference was those guys were much tougher. They weren't given everything their whole lives. They weren't pampered. They weren't spoiled. They didn't get to go get paid to play in college. They didn't get to transfer every year. Something didn't go right for them. And I just think that the toughness of the 70s and 80s, you might be bigger, faster today, but you go get in a street fight with somebody that's bigger and tougher. You can be faster and more athletic, but you go and get your ass handed to you every time. So I trust the 49ers, but remember, we watched them lose 3 straight games. And I mean, it wasn't like they lost to bad teams. They lost to the Browns, Bengals, and Vikings. 2 of the 3 would be in the playoffs, and the other one's tied for a playoff spot. Mm-hmm. But still, you wouldn't think that would happen. And they lost to the Bengals when they had Burrow, which makes that a little different. But they lost to the Cleveland Browns. I mean, and I think the Browns are a good team. But really, if the Browns had a quarterback, I would trust the Browns because they can play defense and run the ball. But really, the 49ers is the only team I trust. If you stuck a gun to my head right now and said I had to pick a team to come out of the AFC for the Super Bowl, I don't know. I mean, I don't trust the Dolphins because I think they're poorly coached, and I think their defense is ass. I mean, and as we saw, if Tyreek Hill goes down, they're done. I mean, the Buffalo Bills and Cincinnati Bengals to me are dangerous, but the Bills have significant holes on defense, and they can't run the ball. Cleveland doesn't have a quarterback. What the hell do you got? The AFC South? I mean, put it like this. In a normal year, if it's 15 years ago, the Indianapolis Colts aren't sniffing the playoffs. Neither is Jacksonville or Houston with the teams they have. I mean, so who do you got left? You got Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes, but he has nobody that can catch or line up onside. It's a mess. So the AFC, whoever gets in the playoffs, if Steve's Colts get in the playoffs, hell, Gardner Minshew gets hot. You never know. And if you get Jonathan Taylor back and you got Zach Moss and you're going to Kansas City or one of these places where it's cold out and you got to run the ball, I mean, what the hell do you want? Gardner Minshew doesn't have to throw the ball if he's got those two guys in the backfield. And when he does his play action, he throws deep. He's got Pittman. He's got Pierce. He's got wide receivers. He's got weapons. I could actually sit here and give you a case for why every team right now that is in the playoffs in the AFC would have a shot to go to the Super Bowl. In the NFC, the Dallas Cowboys look great, but they're the Dallas Cowboys. The 49ers look good, but the 49ers have never been able to seal the deal. Their coach has never been able to seal the deal, even when he was up 28-3 in the Super Bowl.
So, Mike, you actually answered two questions because you answered the who do you trust, and my next question was going to be who do you see as the best AFC, NFC? So, Steve, to you, I ask, do you trust any of these teams at this point?
I agree with Mike. I don't trust anybody in the AFC. I think AFC is just wide open. I think I agree with his assessment that the team like the Bengals or the Colts could make a run. I think it's just that a team we're looking at right now, like the Steelers.
No.
Probably not the Steelers, but I would say a dangerous team in the AFC right now would be the Ravens.
I forget about the Ravens, but I still think this. I think the Ravens without Mark Andrews is a significant loss for the way they run their offense.
But if they get him back and they get healthy, and the way that Lamar Jackson has played
is not very good.
Under control, huh?
I don't think he's played very well. I thought he played really well up till about 5 or 6 weeks ago, and I think he played well yesterday.
I mean, Tagliabue is untested. If I got to say one team in the AFC, I'd have to go with Kansas City just because they're tested. But that's the only reason is they've been there, done it.
But they're not. You can't really get the tested thing anymore just because 40% of every roster changes every year.
I got to pick something. I got to go down the list.
Got to pick somebody.
I don't know. You ain't got to because we're always wrong this time of year anyway.
I think the AFC is wide open. I think the NFC is the 49ers to lose. And they could very well lose it.
I think it's the 49ers and Cowboys. I think the Cowboys have the talent to beat the 49ers. I just don't know.
I think the Cowboys are probably playing better football right now.
Hey, remember this. Last year, the Cowboys only lost by 6 points, I think it was, to the 49ers in San Francisco. And that's because Dak didn't play that well. And Brock Purdy didn't play that well in that game either. And we've never seen Brock Purdy play outstanding in a playoff game. Now, of course, he's only played, one? But we haven't seen that yet. And we've seen, you look at Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson was the hit on him. Great in regular season, can't get it done in the playoffs. Yep. So it's a whole different ball game when you get to the playoffs. Anything else, Dan?
If the 49ers want to seal the deal, they trade for Garoppolo and get him back.
And then
what? Be the backup in case Purdy gets hurt. He's kidding, Dan. It's okay. He says a lot of stupid shit, but nothing that stupid.
Dan, who do you think?
Yeah, so for me, I want to say San Francisco too, that I trust them the most. But, I mean, them losing Deebo Samuel for that 3-game stretch, how pathetic that offense looked, even with McCaffrey scoring touchdowns, doing his thing, elite offensive line, good defense, whatever. They couldn't score more than 17 points. And if your defense isn't allowing less than 17, you're not going to win many games.
Well, how about this? I can understand that happening against the Bengals and Browns. I can't understand it when it happened against Minnesota.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I get it if it happens 1 week. It's the NFL. Yeah. Any given Sunday, right?
The Browns and Vikings games are unexplainable. The Bengals had Burrow at the time, and I think with Burrow, and it's not because I'm a Bengal fan, I think they're the best team when they have Joe Burrow. I just do. And we saw when he got healthy, it wasn't anybody beating him.
I agree. When before he got hurt, I think a couple of weeks before he got hurt, we were having this conversation about how good the Bengals are. Here we go, Bengals about to win.
And I'll tell you, it's proven out by the fact that Jake Browning. I think Jake Browning is an NFL quality starter, but I think he is just an above average quarterback. But an above average quarterback on that Bengals team makes that Bengals team very dangerous. Yeah, hell, an average quarterback makes them dangerous just because of all the weapons you have. I mean, T. Higgins hasn't really showed up yet this year, but
so I wanna say San Francisco, but I'm going to go with Kansas City, and it's for what Steve said.
I thought we were talking about the NFC.
No, I said the teams that you trust.
Yeah, so you told me to give you one in the NFC, give me one in the AFC.
So in the NFC, I would go with the 49ers. In the AFC, I would go with the Chiefs. But if I had to pick one, I would pick the Chiefs. And it's because they've got the best quarterback in the league right
Shit.
now.
Yeah,
They've
okay,
got
yeah, because the best quarterback's hurt.
The quarterback's got 2 Super Bowl wins already.
The officials gave them to him, too.
All they do is make it to AFC championships.
Because the officials.
Reid, all he does is lead teams to success. He didn't win a chip with Philly, but they made it to the Super Bowl. They made it to a bunch of NFC championships.
Like 9 in a row, and he lost 8 of them. That was awesome. He did a good job.
So the team knows what it takes, and the difference between this Chiefs team this year and previous Chiefs teams is this Chiefs team has a defense.
No, they don't.
They
had a defense the first 7 or 8 weeks of the season.
They're not dominant. They're not, one of the best units in the league, but they got to get credit where credit is due. They've only allowed more than 17 points in one game all season. There's not a lot of teams in the NFL that can say they've only allowed 17 points, more than 17 points once all year. For all these vaunted defenses,
I'll tell you this. The issue with the Chiefs is not their defense. It's their offense.
It is. But my thing is, when it comes down to it, you give elite quarterbacks the benefit of the doubt, regardless of who they have around them. Once you get to that pinnacle, Joe Burrow could be without Chase, without Higgins, and you'll still give him the benefit of the doubt. If you're down by a touchdown.
Hey, wait a second. You said that the Chiefs had only given up more than 17 points once?
Yeah, they gave up.
That's bullshit.
Why
do you lie?
They gave up 27.
Why do you lie? You said one time they gave up more than 17 points. They gave up 21 to Detroit. They gave up 20 to freaking Zach Wilson.
I meant to say 20 points.
They gave up 20.
I forgot about
the Vikings.
I glossed over the Jets and the Vikings. I apologize.
Yeah, 2 horrible offenses. But the Vikings had Kirk Cousins at the time.
I glossed over those.
The Eagles scored 21. That's 4 times they gave up more than 17.
I glossed over
Packers scored 27. That's 5 times.
I misspoke. The point is, they're not
getting you were completely
They're not giving up a lot of points.
They gave up 17 5 times. You sat here and tried to make your case with an absolute bald-faced lie.
You missed
4 days.
I missed a couple. Regardless,
4.
if you're giving up 20 points in the NFL, you're not going to lose a lot of games. That's the point. The point is they're not giving up a lot of points.
Well, remember this, though. In the NFL, I bet this is the lowest scoring season we've seen in years.
You know what? I'm actually curious about that.
Me too, because the last 3 weeks have been horrible.
I'm very curious about that. Let me see if I can find that real quick. In NFL.
Because it just seems like we get more and more low-scoring games all the time.
I'm trying to see that, and you know what? I'm gonna look into that. I'm gonna message you guys. Maybe we talk about that next week because that's gonna take a little research. It looks like, but I'm actually curious about that too because I looked this up earlier this season, a few weeks ago, probably like week 10 or week 10 or week 9, something like that. And I wanted to see because I'm thinking like, damn, I feel like the NFL scoring is down, and it wasn't. It was right in line with the average of
but I would almost bet you anything. It may have been right in line the first 7, but the last 4 or 5 weeks just seems like it's been really bad. But the quarterback play has been.
When you have a 3-0 game, that doesn't.
The quarterback play has been really bad this year. Even the guys that are the elite guys have all had at least 3 or 4 games where they were not elite at all.
Yeah, but how many backup quarterbacks are we watching now?
Well, I mean, how many backup quarterbacks do we watch when all the starters play? I mean, the NFL, Daniel Jones, come on. They're paying that dude $40 million. That'll tell you the state of quarterback play in the NFL right now. And it's because quarterbacks aren't developed because they go to college, and the majority of college teams use passing concepts that are not used in the NFL. I mean, it's just like Dak Prescott in college. They used NFL passing concepts. Joe Burrow at LSU, NFL passing concepts. Texas Tech, the reason Patrick Mahomes had to sit a year was to learn how to play quarterback because he was playing. No, I mean, seriously, he was playing in an air raid offense. Yep. And I think if Andy Reid ever leaves Kansas City, I think that Patrick Mahomes will no longer be elite. I think the reason he is elite is Andy Reid's offense.
Oh, okay.
It fits him absolutely perfect. And I don't believe in system quarterbacks because every quarterback is a system quarterback. So I would say if you put him in a system exactly like he's got now, he's always going to be successful. But you know how NFL head coaches are. They go in and they want to do stuff their own way and screw
Yep.
stuff up. So.
Yeah.
All right. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
It's been the longest show in NFL betting show history.
Yeah, sorry, I got excited.
But that's all right, because when I check the Twitter numbers and everything, there's still a lot of people watching, so we're good. All right, Steve, we can follow you at srisley34 on Twitter. We can follow Dan Kornhauser at DB Talkin' Sports. You can follow myself at Grueling Truth. We are here every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, so make sure you come back next Wednesday to check us out. But for now, for Steve Risley, Dan Kornhauser, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.